for the whole 2 hours. Jonathan Beard is going to come through with an announcement, and we've got just a lot, but we want to say on this Independence Day, July the 4th, I think I did a show once before on a holiday. It was Christmas. I think the last time a Christmas either came on a Saturday or a Sunday, I was on the air doing a show on Christmas, Donnella Martin Braddock. I sure enough was on Christmas.
Wow, that's dedication, sir.
Huh? Preach it up. That was there on
if
Christmas.
Jesus take a break, why should you?
Oh, well, I was preaching it up, Walter McCrimmon. How art thou?
I am very well, thank you.
All right, that's my real live brother right there. How you doing, son?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
He's my older brother, younger brother. Which one is it?
I'm your brother.
Now tell the truth, is Kahari capable of being a younger brother?
Yes, he is.
Wow. Aww.
All right, we got a lot of subjects to hit with Mr. Neely Fuller. We've got gay marriage, South Carolina shootings, Independence Day, mother beating down the Baltimore black youth, black on black marriage relations, war on black males, legalization of drugs. We're going to cover the waterfront with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., who is here, and he's going to be joining us for the whole 2 hours. We've had so many requests to bring Mr. Fuller on again, so I said, all right, well, let's get him in here. So we're so happy that he is able to be with us, and we're going to get with him right away. But before we do that, we have a sad announcement this morning of the death of Brother Shabaka Toure. Brother Shabaka has been on the show many times. I've worked with Brother on many projects throughout the year. And I'm just a heart. I mean, I was told at 4:00 in the morning, I believe it was, he passed. He made the great transition. And there's just not enough words that I can say about Brother Shabaka Toure. And it's just so heartfelt. I know he had been struggling. If you know, we had said that on the air, that he had been struggling for a long time, for at least a reasonable period of time, with his affliction. And he made the great transition that we all have to do. Now, we all got to do this. No one gets out of here alive. No one gets out of here alive. We all got to make this transition. But it's always it just really wrecks your heart when this brother was truly dedicated to the upliftment of his people. I mean, truly dedicated. Every waking hour, this brother was analyzing and doing things that would make that possible. I cannot say enough about such a beautiful human being. And many people who have known him. He was a charismatic personality. He was a deep intellectual. He saw the world. He traveled the world. He was truly one of the greatest men I've ever met. That's Brother Shabaka Toure passing. And some more details as to when his homegoing ceremonies take place. But it's truly for us a great loss. A great loss. This was a great brother. And I mean, when I say great brother, I mean, I put him right up there with any of the great ones. He was truly a man that was committed to the upliftment of his people. I mean, from being involved in African Liberation Day, he worked with Stokely Carmichael. He had just come back about a couple of years ago from being on the continent in Africa, trying to do all he could and he's always done all he could to bring the brothers and sisters from Africa and around the world. And I think we need to understand one thing that we don't get. We don't get it when we are allowing other people to define for us what is black. And they've been doing it for quite a while. All up in Cambodia, for example, in India, Thailand, Ceylon, Vietnam, the Philippines, all China. Yes, China. All up in Japan, historically. The further back you go, the blacker the people get. That was all black, majority black at one time in history. No doubt about it. You can even go right now, if you want a little taste of it, type in Cambodia 1910 on your YouTube. Just type it in. See what pops up. Buddhist ceremonies. Look at those people and tell me what it is. And that's why we're talking about white supremacy today. Somebody made a decision when they went all around the planet and saw how black it was. Somebody made a decision right then and there to take it down, to wipe them out. You know, people have gone to China. I've seen 1900, 1910 pictures of China, and I see those black folks there. And yet, when you go over there, say, well, what happened to them? Good question. All around the world, as a result of this thing, people had started to whiten up, and all the very, very dark-skinned people of the world are either on the bottom or they've been exterminated. And this is nobody wants to talk about it now because we're into diversity. We're moving away from who we are and we're becoming something else. God knows what that is. And then with all these mixtures of the gay marriage stuff, the what I call the inept response to South Carolina, I mean, all of this stuff, it looks like we're just losing, moving away. We don't want to talk about it. We don't want to deal with it. And as a result, the whole concept of what we are is changing and changing dramatically. And we have to pull it back in. That's why I'm inviting Mr. Fuller to talk with us this morning to help us to figure out what it is we're going through right now. Barbara Clark's in the house. Good morning, Barbara Clark.
Good morning, Kahari. How are you?
You've got something special, or did the special already take place?
Oh, no, July 17th and 18th, the neighborhood house is East High School versus...
Mr. Neely Fuller, how are you, sir?
I'm still learning.
How you feeling? You doing good?
Well, I'm still learning, and that should lead to something that's supposed to be constructive. I mean, we're always supposed to be in a learning mood, so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to stay in that learning mood of how to solve the problems that we've been presented with, because there are always problems.
And there's
the main problems.
And there's a ton of them. Mr. Fuller, let's how do you get your book, and what's the name of it, and how do you get it?
You can get it by going to producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the contents of a book that's entitled, the extended title is The Textbook Workbook for Thought, Speech, and/or Action for Victims of Racism, which is White Supremacy. And you can get it by going to producejustice.com. It's a brief description of the contents of that book and the method for ordering.
All right. Okay, Mr. Fuller, I guess we could kind of kick it off this morning by stopping and asking about this whole notion of July 4th, Independence Day. What are we independent from, Mr. Fuller? How do you see this day in general? How should we view it? Mr. Fuller.
We should view it about being independent for what? And the basic title of my book, which is called the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept. All movements, everything that people do is to compensate for something. In other words, if you're doing something, you're compensating for something that's lacking. If you're just crossing the street, you're crossing the street like that old adage about why did the chicken cross the road to get to the other side? Well, the chicken is crossing the road to get to the other side. That's a compensatory movement in order to presumably improve the condition of the chicken that's crossing the road to get to the other side. So if a person is doing anything along the lines of trying to be independent from what? In order to do what? See, in other words, these are the questions that are raised. Independent from what? In order to do what? So that's what we should be thinking about. We're trying to be independent for a reason, trying to get away from something, trying to become more dependent on ourselves, or if it's talking about an individual person, him or herself, be independent in that vein. But it goes farther than that. In order to do what? Once you are, quote, unquote, independent of someone, presumably, who is getting in your way of doing whatever it is you're supposed to be doing. So the focus should be on what is it you're supposed to be doing, that you want your independence from one thing in order to be dependent upon yourself in order to do what? So with the non-white people of this planet, the whole purpose, the whole focus of being independent should be to produce a product. You're getting free from something so that you can produce something better than what you have. And that something better, presumably, would be a product called justice. This should be the aim of everybody on the planet. That should be the aim. Independence, this thing called independence, is just a vehicle for getting you to another place, to getting you to another position. And so therefore, with the people of the entire planet, really, including white people, it should be to produce a product called justice. Now, what would that product, rather than just calling words, what would that product in a functional sense look like?
Mm-hmm.
It would mean guaranteeing that no person is mistreated, and number two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. Now, that's a compensatory definition of the word justice, because there is no official or legal definition for the word justice, I've been told. So I had to make up one. And so that's the one that I made up. I think it'll stand the test of time.
Okay. Now, Mr. Fuller, we move forward to that. A lot of developments have happened that impact us in the last 2 or 3 weeks in particular, from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which many people don't understand, but they're going to understand here in a few days, to the Supreme Court rulings on gay marriage, to the South Carolina shootings. Let's go first to the Supreme Court rulings. What impact will this have on black folks psychologically and around the world and in this area of the world? How do you break that down and help us to understand the impact this will have, Mr. Fuller?
Well, the world is being run by people who believe in white supremacy. That's the premise that I take. That could be incorrect. Maybe somebody else is running it, but I don't believe that. I see no evidence of that. So I say whatever's being done, if you're talking about in economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, or war, then it's the white supremacists who aspire to be and to continue to be dominant in all of those areas of activity and dominant over all of the people who they have classified as non-white.
Okay.
And to them, that's the best of all worlds. So whatever you see in the news, regardless, if the white supremacists have anything to do with it, that's going to be the dominant influence, unless I have been misinformed.
Okay, now, but what does that have to do with the Supreme Court ratifying and sanctioning gay marriage in all 50 states? What kind of impact will that have on black people, in your opinion, Mr. Fuller?
Confusion.
Well, what does that mean? What do you mean confusion?
Already confused about everything in every area of activity. But now that just emphasizes or underlines and embellishes the confusion that is already in place. For a long time we had male, female. Now we have male, female, transgender. We have trans this and trans that. We might even in the future have as many classifications of sexuality, or probably even more, as we have of racial classifications. So the white supremacist scheme is the mend the two. You have more confusion in racial classifications, like you almost now have, as been illustrated in some of the news recently, white is the new black.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, by the lady who stepped forward and said that she was, should be involved in black people's affairs.
The lady in Seattle, Rachel.
She is now black.
What was her name?
Dolezal.
Dolezal.
She said, hello.
Yeah, Rachel Dolezal is who you're talking about. Go ahead, Mr. Fuller.
Yes, she said that she was black, and then people said, well, but everybody who is in your family and whatnot says that you're white. And she says, well, that's what they say, but I say that I'm black. So maybe white is the new black. More confusion. And in order to accomplish what? Well, in order to accomplish what the white supremacists are always trying to accomplish, and that is maintaining white supremacy. And anytime you can confuse people, you can dominate people.
Mr. Fuller, hold up, Mr. Fuller.
Classifications.
Mr. Fuller, how does gay marriage, though, lead to white supremacy domination? I don't understand the correlation. Maybe you can tie it together for me.
Because if the people who are white, and they are white supremacists. That doesn't say every white person is a white supremacist.
Got you.
People who believe in dominating and mistreating people based on color or for what you call gay marriage, you can just about guarantee that they have already figured how they are going to continue to dominate and confuse and abuse and mistreat the non-white people of the planet.
How is it confusion, Mr. Fuller? Mr. Fuller.
They do it is through confusion.
How is this?
You confuse, I want to say this. Anytime you confuse people sexually, then you can dominate them in all other areas of activity forever, because sex is a very, very strong motivation. It's the second strongest motivation in the planet, among the people of the planet, next to white supremacy itself. According to what? According to logic and according to evidence.
Mr. Fuller, how is this confusion? That's what I'm trying to get you to explain. How would you keep using the word confusion? How is this confusion?
If I have the body of a male and I'm walking around thinking that I'm a chicken, and I have the body of a person, I'm confused. End of story. I mean, your body and mind must be in sync. Now, if your mind is all over the place and your body is stationary, then that's a contradiction. Just like the racial classification. Somebody comes along and says that you're white one day and you're non-white the next day. That's confusion. I mean, how did you change just that quick and whatnot? Well, I changed it because that's what's in my mind at the moment. So you can be anything. When you can be anything, maybe you're nothing.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. So all of this leads to a lot of confusion. Now, what impact does confusion have on black people in particular and the rest of the folk? What impact does confusion have?
A confused people will always be dominated by people who are not confused. And the black people of this entire planet are totally confused in all of the areas of activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And the white supremacists dominate the black people of this entire planet every minute of every day in all of those areas of activity, because they have completely confused the black people of this planet in all of those areas. That's the equation. Now, that statement that I just made is either true or false.
Mr. Fuller, define confusion.
Confusion means you don't know what to do with yourself when you get up in the morning. You have to have a white supremacist, if you're black, tell you what to do. In economics, do the black people of this planet know what to do? Do they control any monetary systems anywhere on the planet at any time?
Well, Nigerians in Nigeria say that they control their own economy. Robert Mugabe in Zimbabwe, down in the southern part of Africa, would say he controls his own economy. All of these so-called the Caribbean nations say that they control their economy. You're saying that's false?
Saying is not the same as doing. Now, either they are telling the truth or they are not. Doesn't make any difference what people say. I mean, people say all kinds of things. But you look for the truth. The truth is, if anybody is having any kind of money transactions on this planet and they have color in their skin, you better believe that money transaction is directly or indirectly controlled by those white people who have chosen to practice white supremacy.
Said, okay, y'all can smoke, y'all can stoke, y'all can do whatever you want to do. Have a good time. And all of this legalization of drugs, what is this all about? And all of this stuff, everything is happening at the same time. It's like a collision course hitting at the same time. Am I right, Donnella Martin Braddock?
Absolutely. And it's just like what Mr. Neely Fuller says. It's about the confusion. We are constantly being distracted. We're constantly being confused, constantly being programmed to numb ourselves. And I think that's what we really, really need to think about. We need to ask ourselves, why are we being fed and programmed and dumbed down? And what do we need to do to wake up?
Mr. Fuller, how can they get in touch with your book?
In touch with the book?
Yeah, how can they get it? You had to speak up, Mr. Fuller.
Produce Justice. That's Produce Justice. Like you're trying to be in the production of justice. That's producejustice.com.
All right.
Producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of the book, textbook for victims of white supremacy. and the method for ordering.
All right, let's open up the lines at 821-1063. 821-1063. Before we go to Barbara, did you have a question for Mr. Fuller? 821-1063. Let me hear from you now. Woo, my goodness. Go ahead, Barbara.
How do we explain white supremacy to our children to help them understand? I just want to hear that language.
Mr. Fuller.
You just simply say what it is and how it works. Because if you don't have that, you don't have anything. You just put it in place that tell all people, not just young people. I'm often asked, what do you tell young people? You tell young people the same thing you tell any people. You just tell them the truth. And you tell them, the best time to tell them is when they start asking questions. Otherwise, they might get further confused, because if they are not in a mindset of receiving your answers, meaning they haven't even asked the question, they may get confused about what you're talking about. But if they start asking questions about what this color thing is all about, then that's the time to tell them the truth about it. You tell them that the whole world is dominated by some people who decided that the world's business should be run on the basis of what color somebody is, and that business should take the form of something that we call white supremacy. That is, if you're classified as white, you have the duty to dominate and mistreat people who are classified as non-white. And that would be black, brown, red, yellow, tan, beige, anybody who has color in his or her skin. And if you are a person who was born white or have been classified as white, then you can go around and at any time you point to a non-white person, a person who's classified as non-white, and then you can make a decision right then that that is a person that is eligible for mistreatment. Mistreatment by whom? By you, if you're white. That you have a badge of honor to mistreat that person. In fact, you have a duty to run to that person, run toward that person, and figure out a way to dominate and mistreat that person for your own fun, your own glory, or your own material gain. I made it kind of long-winded in explaining it, but that's basically what it is. And you must dominate them in every area of activity. You don't let them do anything that's not under your domination. I mean,
that's very descriptive. I mean, that really is. Mr. Fuller, I'm going to come back to the gay marriage issue in a minute, but I want to shift a little bit into South Carolina and you know the assassinations that took place down there. But there's a point in which somehow it went off into chasing a flag. Mr. Fuller, let's look at this Confederate flag issue that this thing evolved into right quick. What was your read on that? All of a sudden this was an assassination. People were killed. We've called for independent investigation, and you were on when we did that, and yet there's been no response. Everybody lays back. They don't want to do. But all of a sudden we got off to chasing a flag, never knowing what really happened. We never saw the videotape from the church. We don't know what really happened in that church. We don't know who this guy was, and yet we don't seem to want to know. But let's talk about this Confederate flag. What did all that mean to you, Mr. Fuller?
Well, according to what I have written about flags, first of all, if anybody is flying any kind of flag, the first order of business, like it is in solving any problem, if it is a problem, and apparently it is to ask, what is the flag for? What is the flag for? And you let the person who is flying the flag, the person who put the flag up, explain what the flag is for. And, why is it there? People put up flags for a reason. So you want to know the reason, and you want to know the reason not from anybody else. You want to know the reason from the person that put the flag up, always, without exception. Don't ask anybody else why it's up there. Ask the person who put the flag up. That's the logical process. And wait for the answer. Don't try to read into the answer yourself. Wait for the answer. Because ultimately, if you follow the logic, and in counter-racist compensatory science, you always follow logic. So you just look at the flag going up. You see that the flag is up. Somebody put it up there. you go to the somebody and you say, what is that? First of all, you want to know what it is, and if they tell you it's a flag, you say, what is that flag for, and why are you putting it up on that pole? In order to do what? In order to accomplish what? Apparently, you're trying to accomplish something. What is it you're trying to accomplish? Because, see, the argument is not between me and anybody's flag. If there's going to be an argument, it's going to be between me and the person who put up the flag. I don't have any problem with the flag. The flag can just flap forever. I mean, you know, it's just a piece of cloth or something written on a wall or whatnot. These are just so-called signs and symbols. But if I want to find out what the sign and symbol is all about and whether or not it has anything to do with me, I have to talk to the person who put it there. Because the problem is, if it's going to be a problem, it'll be between me and the person who put it there.
Okay, according to according to counter-racist strategy, was it the smart thing to do to go off and start chasing and start babbling about a flag, given what happened? Was that the right way to go, or the correct way to go?
Well,
Mr. Fuller?
I just said, I mean, the correct way to go is to always get an understanding with the person who put the flag up.
I got that part.
You're not doing anything. I mean, I can argue with the flag all day long. I mean, you know, it could be midnight, and I can go out there and curse the flag. I can do No, that's not where the problem is. The problem is between me, if there is a problem, and the person that put the flag up. All I want to know is, how is the person who put the flag up going to treat me in every area of activity?
But they say it's part of the South, it's part of the Old South, it's part of...
They can fly any kind of flag they want to, as long as there's no problem between me and the person that put the flag up. See, that's what the concentration should be. The person who wants the flag up, the person who says they're proud to fly the flag, I want to know what is the relationship between...
Okay, I got that, Mr. Fuller.
Person,
but Mr. Fuller,
between me and the flag.
Mr. Fuller, but you got all these people rushing to the Confederate flag, complaining about that and not addressing anything else. What I'm trying to see from you is, from the compensatory code standpoint, was that the correct move? Yes or no, Mr. Fuller?
Is what the correct?
Should we have gone in that direction, spending all of our energy chasing and complaining about the Confederate flag? Mr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller, I can't have these gaps.
Again, the argument is not between me and the flag. I've never heard a flag argue with anybody. I've never seen a flag do anything.
Yeah, but they say it represents the old Confederacy. They say it represents white supremacy.
Heritage.
They say it represents
the only
racism.
person that can represent a person is a person.
Okay.
The person that you are talking to every day, that's what you want to get an understanding with about how you and that person is going to interact.
So you didn't have a problem with the flag being up there. Is that what you're telling me?
Say that again?
You didn't have a problem with the flag being up there. Is that what you're telling me?
I have no problem with any flag flying anywhere. I don't care what kind of flag it is. I got problems with people.
So if there were a Nazi flag up there, you still wouldn't have a problem with it?
There's no such thing as an American flag.
I didn't say American. I said Nazi.
Something up there on a pole, that's all.
I said Nazi flag. I didn't say American. You wouldn't have a problem if a Nazi flag was up there either. Is that right?
With the what?
A Nazi.
Nazi flag.
Right.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, I have a problem with people. All of my problems have always come primarily with people, not with dinosaurs, because they're not here, and not with flags on any pole or on the side of a wall.
So do you feel that the whole Confederate flag controversy was a distraction, was a way to get black people to not be angry about the fact that grandmothers, mothers, and distinguished people were shot in cold blood while in prayer in a church? Do you feel that that Confederate flag controversy was a deliberate distraction from the issue?
It could be, but I can only find that out by talking to the person again who puts up the flag, the person who says that they have a devotion to the flag. I don't want to know about the devotion to the flag. They can devote everything to the flag. But I want to know when I come down the road how that person is going to interact with me. And that should be the law. That's a universal law of everybody on the planet. Not what flag you're flying. You can fly any flag you want to. You can change the different colors in the flag every day or every 30 minutes, whatever. I just want to know how you're going to interact with me in all of the areas of activity, and there's 9 of them: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war.
Okay, Mr. Fuller,
And
we've
we
got
can
the
get on
9
the same
areas.
page on that. You can fly any kind of flag you want to.
Okay, Walter, you had
Mr.
the
Fuller,
question.
you have discussed deception, and I believe that you had said that this deception is designed to lead to violence by the white supremacists. Would you address that question for us?
Say that again.
You had responded to deception. You're saying that deception leads to violence. Can you explain that to us?
Oh, deception is a form of violence. If somebody's deceiving you in order to do harm to you, that's a form of violence. That's one of the major forms of violence among the people of the entire planet. Anytime I'm trying to fool you in order to do harm to you, I have done violence to you. That's what you call indirect violence. But it has a horrendous effect, because anytime you are thinking one thing when you should be thinking something else on account of I misled you, whether it's in economics, in education, in politics, in religion, in sex, then I have done great harm to you. If I come to you with some type of sexual program that's misleading, that's going to lead to some kind of non-constructive activity with a non-constructive effect, or if I do that in the area of religion or in politics or in economics, I am doing great harm to you, because I have deceived you in a way that had a destructive effect on your being.
So
that deception, if it has the intent of being harmful. Now, if I fool you by telling you that I'm going to give you a birthday party, and at the birthday party we're going to present you with a cake, and when you come to the party, I not only present you with a cake, but I present you with $2 billion, then that has been beneficial. You were deceived, but not in a way that was non-constructive. See, you can be deceived in a way that's constructive or deceived in a way that's non-constructive. The white supremacists, when they come around, like the people who are called red people, say when the white supremacists come around, they come with a forked tongue. They say one thing and they do another. That's deception.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, the legalization of drugs. Illegal, these things like marijuana, some say eventually maybe cocaine, maybe God knows what else might be. I know you've had time to think about this. What is this all about? What is the push for this now? Is this part of that confusion? Is this part of to get us to be zoned out? How do you see this, Mr. Fuller?
To the extent that a white supremacist has anything to do with it, and they're going to involve non-white people in it, it's just going to give more strength to the system of white supremacy.
How?
That's law. That's compensatory counter-racist law.
How does this...
Anytime the white supremacists come around offering you something, be suspicious. I don't care what it looks like on the surface. They don't usually come with anything except something that's going to make them more powerful in dominating and mistreating non-white people.
So I'm still trying to understand, Mr. Fuller, where do you stand on the legalization of drugs? Is it a correct move, or is it something designed to hurt and destroy us? Mr. Fuller.
Well, what you do is just see what effect the drugs have when you use them. I mean, there are some drugs that are supposed to be healthy for you.
I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about things like marijuana for recreational use and stuff like that. That's where I'm trying to go.
Well, that word recreational, we're going to recreate. Recreate what?
Mm-hmm.
In order to do what? See, all problems are solved through the process of questions and answers. So if they say, here, if someone comes to me and hands me anything and say, this is going to help you, first thing you should say is, help me how? Help me to do what?
Well,
walk me through it. Walk me through what? You're going to give me some marijuana. You say it's going to help me. Help me to do what?
Well, we have had people say that the medical marijuana is helping people cope with certain illnesses. But I want to understand, and my question is, how does that get to the recreational? How is that
How is recreational helping you?
Yeah.
Is that what constructive purpose is recreational drug use? Is that what you're asking?
That's what I'm
Mr.
asking.
Fuller.
Absolutely. Everything in the universe is going to have a constructive effect on a person or a non-constructive effect. It's real simple. So if anybody hands you something, first thing you want to know is what is it and what is it supposed to do and what's going to be the result. Because the result's either going to be constructive or non-constructive. And it's going to be constructive, that result should show.
Mr. Fuller, one of the things that derailed, many people say, the black awareness and black consciousness movement out of the 70s was the proliferation of drugs. Out of places like New York, Dayton, Ohio, Miami, all over the place. All of a sudden, here comes heroin. All of a sudden, here comes marijuana. All of a sudden, here comes cocaine and eventually crack cocaine. Mr. Fuller, and I've heard you speak on this. Address that for me, would you please?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Keep it simple. Keep it simple, and it's not complicated. It's either going to have a constructive effect or a non-constructive effect. If it doesn't nourish your body, then you say, you are giving me something that is non-constructive, and you are showing me that you are my enemy.
But some
That's what
people
you're
say
doing.
that the marijuana does nourish the body.
Well, it makes you eat a lot.
Well, eat a lot. They say it overcomes pain, help you see better.
We're talking about recreational use here. They saying that with that also?
Marijuana's marijuana, isn't it?
Well, according to Earth Jallow and people like that, they say they take certain elements out of it. Am I right, Donella? Isn't there supposed to be certain elements taken out of it?
You know, that's the fantasy, that if you're taking pure marijuana, it comes from the earth, so therefore it's healthy and natural. But I think one of the things that we need to think about, and Mr. Fuller, you talked about this a couple of weeks ago, is that black people, we spend our time doing non-constructive activities, running away, because let's face it, medical any type of marijuana or anything that you use, you're getting high. And if someone disagrees with me, they can call in. But if you're getting high, you're running away. You're running away from the duties and responsibilities of your life. You're cheating. And you have to ask yourself why. Why do I need this in order to get by? Living is difficult. But then again, you should be able to live sober. So, marijuana is running away. Also, Mr. Fuller talked about the ways that we interact with each other. We spend our time bragging. Our music is simplistic and filled with, silly, references. We need to look at everything that we're doing.
I tell you what, let's open up the lines at 821-1063. 821-1063. You want to talk to Neely Fuller? He's right here. 821-1063. You can ask him anything. And we're going to get to this whole question of why black folk ain't married. We're going to get to all of this. And we're going to get to the war on black males, now black females, all the shootings in South Carolina, independent, whatever it is you feel like you want to talk to Mr. Fuller about, let me hear from you now. Let's go there right now. Magic 106.3, you're on there. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Brother Kahari.
Good morning, my brother. Good to hear from you. Go ahead.
What's his name?
Mr. Fuller, Neely Fuller. Mm-hmm.
He is correct about one thing.
What's that?
That this gay marriage will cause confusion. Brother Kahari, as a man and a woman, you have traditional customary roles. So you are grounded in your marriage through your roles. But once they allow this open marriage of gay marriage, now you have to accommodate the 4 letters, which is the LGBT. Now, to accommodate the B is going to be the hardest part to do because they can flip and flop in and out of their homosexuality, which means now they might have to open it up further where they can marry a man and a woman so that they can have their both worlds because they multiply within what they're doing. But Brother Kahari, let me just say this. If anything, they should have opened up the grounds for polygamy. Black women outweigh black men anywhere between 7 to 11 to 1.
Well, let me say this. With marriage being completely redefined, I mean, who can say what a man can marry now? Man can marry a dog. He can marry a pig. I mean, no, I'm serious.
Open it up.
I mean, once you open that up, it's open. It's open for anybody, unless they come back and define what it is. Mr. Fuller, give me your definition of marriage. Is marriage possible for black folk? Give me your definition, Mr. Fuller.
No, it's not possible even now. Even before the discussion about gay marriage came up, black people throughout the world are not married anyway. I mean, what you call the heterosexual marriage. We have an arrangement that the white supremacists have allowed to have. You can't be married in a system of white supremacy.
Why?
If you are classified as non-white. You're just going through a ritual. But in order to have a real marriage, a marriage has a purpose, and it must have the support of people who are friendly to you. See, in other words, it's just not one male with one female, and that's a marriage. I mean, you got to have a whole society that is supportive of you. And so if you are a prisoner of war and you make an arrangement with somebody in the prison, that's just an arrangement between you and that person that you have that arrangement with. But the warden will dominate all of your activities. Therefore, you're disqualified from being married because you can't support anybody.
But wait a minute, stop right there, Mr. Fuller. Wait a minute. You still haven't given me a definition of marriage. What is marriage from the code standpoint? What is it?
Marriage is an agreement between one or more people. It can, because you can have polygamy, and among many non-white people, you do have it. We always just think of where we are. We have to think of the entire world. Mm-hmm. There's marriage anywhere between anybody. Well, basically, it's just a contract between people who decide that they're going to be in a sexual relationship along with a social relationship and an economic relationship. Now, you can get the sexual relationship. Black people have sex, male with female, but when your sexual relationship, so-called, is dominated by people who tell you where you have to work, can tell you when to move, or when your belongings are going to be set out on the street, then you don't really have a marriage because you don't have a support system for it. So black people have never had a marriage since the beginning of white supremacy.
Wow, I almost said something else. That's a heck of a statement. Let me open up the lines. Caller, you're on air with Mr. Neely Fuller. Go ahead.
Yes, I have two questions for Mr. Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is, does he own a house and a car? And the second question is, and this is a yes or no, would he allow somebody to come and paint the Confederate flag on both of them? Yes or no?
Mr. Fuller.
If I had a house or a car, would I allow someone to come and put...
would you allow someone to come and paint a Confederate flag? Or if you owned a house or car, etc., would you let somebody come and paint a Confederate flag on them? Mr. Fuller.
No, because if I wanted anything painted on my house or car, I would do it myself. I mean, that's just defacing my property. That's all that is. Doesn't make any difference what kind of, even if they came and put my picture on the house or the car. I mean, I wouldn't want that either because I didn't do it. I didn't send for them to do that. Now, if I send for them to do that, then it's okay. But nobody puts anything on my car. I don't even want a ticket put on my car.
So you're saying that you don't see the Confederate flag as a racist symbol. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Fuller?
No, I'm saying I wouldn't care what kind of symbol it is. It's not a symbol. The true symbol of whatever something is the thing. See, in other words, I have what I call a compensatory flag if we start talking about flags. And so therefore, since this discussion was about flags, part of this discussion, if someone puts a so-called Confederate flag up on a pole, and I just don't want that flag to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will talk to the person that put the flag up there. If the person doesn't want to put it down, and I want to make a statement along with that flag, I don't even ask that the flag come down. I ask that another flag goes up with it.
Oh.
And that flag would be what I call the universal compensatory flag, or the compensatory universal flag. And what would that be? One that I made up. And that is a flag that has nothing on it but a question mark.
So I get you. So if where I would go is I'd put the red, black, and green up. So you're saying that if they're going to fly the Confederate flag, then fly equally the red, black, and green flag. Let's open up or another flag that you feel addresses the issues of justice. Caller, you're on there with Mr. Neely Fuller. Go ahead.
Yes, because I believe in freedom of speech. So if someone says,
hold on, Mr. Fuller, I have somebody.
Freedom of expression.
Right, I have somebody that wants to talk to you. Caller, are you there? Caller, you're on there. Go ahead. Okay, I guess she or he hung up. Caller, you're on there with Mr. Neely Fuller. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mr. Fuller, I recently got into a heated conversation with a white male here in Columbus at a bar, and I was discussing to him the fact that I felt that the Confederate flag was a disgusting symbol of white superiority, and that it was a symbol that some white people actually get strength and power from. And after I said that to him, he started screaming, saying that, what is this about black people? You're always thinking that something is always about history. You never let the slavery thing go. And it's like, this has happened to me before with white people. It's like, when you talk about racial matters, they always try to blame black people and say that we're being overly sensitive, and it's like, we're stupid and ignorant and minimizing our pain. And I was trying to figure out, why do they do that?
Mr. Fuller.
Well, you ask them, why do they do that when you talk about it? And then, of course, my procedure in talking to any white person, first of all, if I'm talking to a white person, I want to know what the white person wants to talk to me about. That's the first order of business. If it's a white person...
Mr. Fuller, you're going to have to pick it up. You're going to have to pick it up, Mr. Fuller. Go ahead. You're going to have to pick it up.
And then we go from there. And the next thing I want to know when we get into the subject matter, what is this conversation supposed to lead to?
You don't want to miss the Black Theater Festival coming up next week, and it's going to be just off the hook in terms of dynamite entertainment. Take the whole family and see that Black theater lives in our community, and they're making a great effort to make sure that it does live in our community. Also, we just want to send our condolences out to the family of Brother Shabaka Torre, who made the great transition. He passed this past week. He's been on Straight Talk Live many times. He's a great, great brother, one of the finest people I've ever met in my life. And we certainly will try to pass along as much information about when his homegoing ceremonies are. But want to send our deepest heartfelt condolences out to the family of Brother Shabaka Torre, truly a giant, a real giant in our community. Barbara Clark is here, Donnella Martin Braddock is here, and Walter McCrimmon is here. And Donnella, you have a guest from New York. Can you tell us who it is?
I certainly do. Where Brooklyn at? I have a fellow Brooklynite in the house, Mr. Jonathan Wesley Andrews the Third.
All right, the third. All right.
Good morning, everyone.
All right.
It's too damn early in the morning.
Hey, wait a minute now. This is Columbus. We can't use that word.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I understand. Have to beep you out on that one, brother. That's all right. That's New York. You see what I'm saying? See how the transition is? See, that's what I was telling him. I said, son, you got to make big transition. This is Columbus, Ohio.
I've been telling him, I said, you don't want them to give you as much flack as they give me. Okay, you got to get with this Midwest sensibility, honey.
All right. Neely Fuller from Washington, D.C. is on the line. And I thought Jonathan Beard was here, but I guess I haven't seen him yet. But Mr. Fuller is on the line, and we're dealing with a lot of issues from the Supreme Court ruling on gay marriage, legalization on drugs, South Carolina, the Confederate flag. We're going to hit the whole question of marriage now. Where is it going? Who's going to be able to do what? And all of that stuff. So let's go back. Let's open up the lines to you. We're going to try to take as many calls. You get a chance to talk to Mr. Neely Fuller. Caller, you're on the air with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
Grand Rising.
Speak up, my brother. I can barely hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better. Go ahead.
All right. Listen. First, I would like to salute Master Teacher Fuller. I know he doesn't like to be called those things, but we hold you in that regard, sir. Thank you for all of your work and efforts. I study the 9 areas and promote that as well, based on you and Dr. Welsing's teachings. If I can, Kahari, real quick about the homosexual marriages and how it relates to us, based on what Fuller said about it being confusion. It's taking us out of our natural state
We've already been taken out of our natural state and natural being, and that's part of the problem. This further does that by showing our children that two men can marry. If it does not create life, it is not natural, in my opinion. You cannot create life with two men or two women. That's my opinion on that. As far as the flag, we are definitely spending too much time on that flag. We should be howling and screaming for the disarmament and disbandment of the terrorists, the domestic terrorist group known as the Ku Klux Klan, that are now, after the 9 deaths, burning churches at an alarming rate. We have a black president who's afraid to say anything about it, to call it what it was, a terrorist attack. It was not an assassination. It was not a brutal murder. It was a terrorist attack. Puffy, Sean Diddy Combs, was charged with making terrorist-like threats because he got into it with his son's coach. Why aren't we talking and directing that language to what happened? I heard Master Fuller say one time that we have to start having real conversations. We are afraid to do that. It's not about that flag. We need to be talking about disarming and disbanding any Ku Klux Klan faction that still functions in this country. That's the first step. Secondly, let's see, what else was it? It was
you had talked about confusion. Hold on for a minute. Stay right there. Second caller, get up in here. You're on the air. Go ahead.
I just happened to be a trucker driving through, and I caught the radio station talking about the Confederate flag.
Yes, that's one of the things we're talking about. Go ahead.
Yeah, one of the main, my own personal history, I grew up in southern Indiana, and I grew up in an incredibly racist environment. Now, being of German Italian descent, obviously I'm not a black man, but being a child growing up, it always confused me as to what the exact pride of the flag was, because essentially they lost the war. They were a concerted, sworn enemy of the United States that illegally seceded from the Union, declaring war on the U.S., and they lost. So one, why would you want to promote that? And for two, how can you see it as anything but an ignorant and racist symbol?
Mr. Fuller.
I have a 9-year-old son, and he too is asking the same question, because as the generations go on, it becomes further and further from the logic of it. How can you not see that as a racist symbol? The Articles of Secession that from South Carolina, when they seceded from the United States, one of the things was they didn't like how the northern states were making laws that they could actually liberate the slaves.
Okay, let me
gray area there. I don't understand what's the problem.
Let me ask Mr. Fuller. He says he doesn't understand how you, as a black person on the planet, could not see this as a racist symbol, since he is a white person and he sees it as a racist symbol. Mr. Fuller, you want to respond?
Well, here again, I'm going to say it again.
Pick it up, Mr. Fuller. Pick it up.
I'm going to say it again. I've been saying it over and over again. I go straight to the jugular. Whoever puts the flag up, put it up for a reason. I want to talk to the person who put the flag up. I don't want to talk to the flag. The flag means nothing until the person
wait a minute, one at a time.
talk to does something. In other words, that person is the person I'm going to have to deal with. I don't have to deal with the flag if I can deal with the person. If the person that put the flag up says, oh, this flag means that you are going to get every type of benefit that you can name, then what's my problem with the flag?
Mr. Fuller, are you saying that it's not
to the white person that puts the flag up? That's where the problem is.
I'll talk to the white person who puts the flag up, because the whole thing, the flag is not supposed to send out one message to one person. A flag is a display for as many people to see endorsing a flag of people that didn't even want to be a part of this country, let alone of the human race. I mean, it's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's silly. It's flat out silly. The Confederate flag is not an American flag.
Well,
why would you want to endorse that?
What is an American flag? Give me a definition of an American flag. Since this is the day.
1776, the 13 colonies, the red and white stripes, and the 50 white star. That's the American flag.
So does that include Venezuela? Does that include the Caribbean? Because those are American. That's America also. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I couldn't.
You use the term American. Also, Venezuela is an American state. Colombia is in America. Brazil is in America. So is the Caribbean. That's American. Is that what you're talking about? Because you said American flag, that should include all of those areas of the world also. Should it not?
I can't remember.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, you got a little confused. Magic 106.3, you're on there. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Brother Carr.
Good morning. Let me hear from you.
The thing about the flag is not important, but what it represents. The people who carry it is what Mr. Fuller is saying. What do you represent by this? What does this flag represent that you're holding? Because we can fly a white flag. We all know that means peace. And under the American flag and that flag, the same people, whether it be North or South, had slaves. But what does the flag represent for you people? It's like living in the Matrix. It looks good, this feels good, but we know this really isn't right. We got to dial out of this because they control everything: religion, our education, the entertainment, everything we do. They control the money. We must find a way to change the system. And what the most important thing is put the flag down and come talk to us. We need the racist whites to talk for the blacks and what you have done to us and why you're doing it. And we need good white folks to bring them out so we can all talk to them, so we can start this and give blacks and put us back in our natural state. Because earlier you told the truth. The world was once black, and they whitened it, and they took it, and they mistreated the black people.
Yes, I mean, thank you for the call. I mean, the record is real clear all over the planet. Mr. Fuller. Now, okay, let's move on a little bit. Donnella, I think you had a question. Go ahead.
Well, just as far as the flag controversy is concerned, I think we have to be careful, even when we're well-meaning and saying, yeah, the Confederate flag is bad and blah, blah, blah. The American flag is not good. I mean, out of the years that America has been a country, we have there's only been 7 years allegedly that we have not had military action in any part of the world. So the American flag also represents domination. And as a person who has lived outside of the country, I too have faced embarrassing questions from other people who have asked me, why do people join the American army and go off and they're all over the world, killing people? Why do they do that? And I had to think about the propaganda that we're fed about the Americas, that, we're promoting peace and independence and democracy across the world. That's why we do it. So if we're going to rip up the Confederate flag, let's rip up the American flag too and be honest about what both flags mean and what reality is.
Did you want to say something?
Absolutely.
Jump in here. Go.
My concern is about the 9 people that were murdered. I am upset that people are saying we forgive him. We can't confront this man. He murdered grandmothers, fathers, and Nelly, I need you to answer the question, how should we view this? How should we take your compensatory method and apply it?
Nelly, stay right there. I'm going to give you a chance to respond to.
You would have seen that magic moment where I was labeled 2 fingers because I couldn't get a third point out, Mr. Kahari and Harlow. You remember that?
Yes, I do. And you have a special guest with us all the way from New York City.
Good morning, everyone.
How you doing, my brother? Also
great.
Joining us is my brother, Walter McCrimmon. How you doing, son?
I'm doing real well, and I'm still upset about 9 people losing their lives, and I want an answer. You can't talk to Ruth. You can't talk to the prosecutor. They're all in hiding. How do we confront that, Nelly?
As a matter of fact, they took him to a Burger King. And then the way they arrested him was nowhere similar to how they choked the brother out in New York. But he's handled gently, and, he's just sitting at the house waiting. Yeah, come on, get me. You understand? No videotapes have shown up. No blood tracks. I don't know what happened in that church. I mean, we still aren't clear about what really went down, how many shooters there were. Was he the only guy? Was he the guy? You understand? Too many questions. That's why we have called for a black independent investigation. Mr. Fuller, go with it. Mr. Fuller.
Hello?
Yes, you're on there, Mr. Fuller. Come on. You're on there. Go ahead.
Yes. Who is this calling? What is the question?
No, Mr. Fuller, it's not Mr. Fuller, are you with us, Mr. Fuller? Mr. Fuller? Mr. Fuller.
I'm here.
All right, then. Did you get what we were saying, sir?
No, I didn't get the question.
Okay, repeat the question, Walt.
Mr. Fuller, I am upset and concerned that 9 people were murdered and nothing has been done. We can't confront the killer, and we shouldn't forgive the murder of our people. 80 people have been killed through these domestic terrorists. How do we address them, Mr. Fuller?
Mr. Fuller, go ahead.
Oh, it depends on who you talk to. Whatever you want to do, you say whatever it is you think should be done. I say what I think should be done. Now, for the people who say they want to forgive him, that's what they do. I believe in the United Independent System. You know, the people that want to forgive the person who went into the church, and I always say people should follow their religion. If your religion says you should forgive that person for doing what he did, and if he does it again, forgive him again, if that's what your religion says.
What about you, Mr. Fuller?
What you do.
What about you? Where do you stand? Would you forgive him if he came in your house and killed your family?
Now, which means, first of all, Neely Fuller cannot forgive him for what he did, for the simple reason that he didn't do it to me. Okay? Now, so therefore, according to what I have written, if he wants to be forgiven for what he did, he has to be forgiven by the persons who he killed. Now, the persons who he killed are not here to forgive him, which means what? Logically speaking, he has to go where they went.
Mr. Fuller, Mr. Fuller, if someone came into your house or where you were into your house and killed your loved ones, and he was viewed as a white supremacist coming in your house to kill someone, would you forgive them, Mr. Fuller? You, that's who I'm talking about. Would you forgive them? Does the code allow you to forgive them, Mr. Fuller?
Okay, according to what I have written, he is supposed to be put into what you call maximum compensatory confinement. And the weapon that he used should be put in there with him. That's his friend. That is his friend. That's his co-worker. You put that same pistol that he used in the cell with him, and you keep him there until he decides to do with his friend what he did to others. He and his friend, his co-partner, which is that 9mm pistol, I understand. No, 45 caliber pistol. That's the only person. That's the only thing that should be in that cell with him. Now, he'll be fed through a trap door, but he will have no contact with anybody until he makes up his mind that he and his friend are going to have a co-partnership where he and his friend make a contract with each other to do what he and his friend did to those 9 people in that church. That's compensatory law, according to what I say the entire world should be based on. You do to others, or do to yourself, like you do to others. In other words, whichever way you treat other people, that's the way you should treat yourself. So if you kill other people, and that applies to everybody on the planet, you kill somebody unjustly and not in self-defense, then you must kill yourself. That's the equation. That's the only way that you can compensate. You don't ask for something like forgiveness and then go on about your way. You're still breathing. When you stop somebody else from breathing, willfully, deliberately, and unjustly, you are supposed to stop breathing immediately. That's logic. That's justice. It doesn't get any better than that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fuller. Magic 10.
No one else should do it. You should do it yourself. And you should be kept under condition until you make up your mind to do it.
Okay, Magic 106.3, got a caller. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I want to thank Mr. Fuller for all of his work and his lifelong commitment for us to understand the system of racism and white supremacy, and under no circumstances should he be disrespected or rushed in his thoughts. So I just want you all to keep in mind the man and the type of man that you have in your presence today.
All right, thank you. One of the things that we have to do here at radio is that we have to keep it moving. So it's not a question of disrespect at all. As a matter of fact, if I've disrespected him, I wouldn't have him on as much as I've had, and I wouldn't have worked with him since 1975. So get your facts straight when you call in and attempt to make statements that really have no basis in fact. But in radio has to move. And if there's slowdown even on the guests, I do that with everybody, we try to keep it moving because it's difficult sometimes to move it. You got to keep things going in those 2 hours. Yes, Donella, go ahead.
What concerns me is in the media there seems to be this unnatural push for black people towards forgiveness. And we talked about this on Kahari Free at Last, where there are 4 to 5 stages of grief. And the first stage is anger, and it moves forward and forward until you finally get to acceptance and you finally get to forgiveness. But we are pushed to forgive. And I think as black people, we feel that guilt. If you're a Christian, you're supposed to forgive your enemies. But what does that truly mean? Because the Jewish people, even though they're a religious people, they have a defense. They have an army. Every group of people on the planet have some sort of defense against attackers, not because they're horrible, but because they must defend their communities, their families, and their livelihoods. And it seems to me as black people, we're always pushed to forgive. And I'm wondering, what do we do about that? I understand that we have, religion. And Mr. Neely Fuller, I completely, once again, it's much respect, much love. I was introduced to you by Mr. Kahari and Aharo. So, it's all love. But I'm wondering, what do you tell a black Christian, Mr. Fuller, who may feel some sort of conflict between forgiveness and self-preservation?
Here again, I'm going to say it again, depends on what the person's religion is. In other words, I can't tell a person not to follow his or her religion. That's why the person has chosen a religion. So I always tell people, what does your religion tell you to do? And that's what you should do. And if you don't like your religion, get rid of it and get another religion if you don't like what your religion tells you to do. But every person should follow his or her religion. Otherwise, you are in danger of being the worst thing that you possibly can be, and that's a hypocrite. So you better make up your mind what your religion tells you to do. You should not be confused about what your religion tells you to do in every circumstance that you're in. And if you don't know what it is, then you better find out. Otherwise, it's not your religion. Know what your religion is, whatever it is, whether you're a Christian, a Muslim, a black Hebrew, a Hindu, whatever it is. Find out what your religion tells you to do in every circumstance. That's why you have a religion. That's why people adopt a religion. I can't tell people not to follow their religion. I might not agree with your religion, but I'm not going to tell a person don't follow their religion. That's that person's religion. Religion means you have a strong belief, and that belief will be backed up by action and will stand up to any test that it's put to. Otherwise, it's not a religion. You're just kidding around with it. So black people are going to have to make up their minds if they believe in whatever religion they have or they don't believe in it. If their religion tells them to forgive a person regardless of what they do, then I want to see that black person stick with that through thick and thin.
But that's
and
another...
if your religion tells you to, if someone slaps you on your cheek, you take their head off, I want to see you do that.
But that's another
Otherwise,
form of confusion, Mr. Fuller. You're saying forgive them and don't do nothing. Even when you ask for forgiveness, there's consequences. I don't even hear that.
No, he's saying stick to your religion.
Lady, you have to, I want you to understand what I just said. I just said it over and over again, in depth. I said, whatever your religion, nobody forces you to have a religion. A religion is a strong belief backed up by your actions voluntarily. So if you have adopted a religion, you have went and chosen a religion that says, I will forgive whomever harms me, I'm going to forgive them. I don't care what it is. They can kill my mother. They can burn down my house. They can come and misuse me every day. I can just be kicked from pillar to post because my religion tells me that that's what I'm supposed to do. Well, that's what I want to see you do because that's the religion you adopted. But you might have another religion that says, if you so much as do any kind of harm to me, I'm going to take your head off. instantly,
Sounds like
then I want to see you do that. Practice your religion. That's what I'm telling people.
821-10
religion all the way.
821
Get rid of that religion and get another one.
821-1063 821-1063. Let me hear from you now. 821-1063. We're dealing with a whole bunch of things here on this 4th of July. Let me hear from you. 821-1063 821-1063. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead.
How you doing, Kahari?
How you doing? Go ahead.
I think people need to really do some research because, like Janella said, when she was talking about the American flag, when she goes other places, you know, where America is looked at, and we all know this stuff. But I want to say about the Black Lives Matter movement, anytime they want to boost up black folks in the media, you know there's something got to be going on. I think that if we all do more research and do some more understanding within ourselves, when we go for forgiveness, it's not, you know, it seems like black folks only react when the TV tell us to, and as their group of what they're telling us. But we on the radio this morning and then locally are saying something different. So how do we reach our message to a bigger level? I'll let you answer.
Okay, appreciate the call. We're gonna answer that in just a second. Magic 106.3. Oops, hold on. Okay, Magic 106.3. You're on there. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning to everybody on the panel. Good morning to everybody. I'm excited this morning to hear Kahari, that you bring in these subjects and these topics. And I think what everyone should understand and what everyone's trying to figure out is this artificial intelligence. And so Mr. Fuller keeps trying to tell you that white supremacy controls everything. Yes, even your religion, Christianity, is artificial intelligence. It was never meant to be. It's being destroyed. And the biggest supporter of it got to understand, you never needed it. It was not good information. It was lies. It was deceit. It could never done nothing for you anyway.
Give me, caller, give me your definition. Hold on for a minute. Hold on, caller, hold on for a minute.
Dictionary to tell you what they did.
Caller, can you hear me? Caller, can you hear me?
Mass.
Apparently he can't hear me. Caller, can you hear me? I don't think he can hear me. We got to work that out. 821-1063. 821-1063. 821-1063. This is your chance to talk to Mr. Fuller. Walt, you had some thoughts about his response to what you're saying.
Absolutely. One of the concerns, again, we have a National Defense Authorization Act. We have a Homeland Security. Why weren't these people able to pick up and pursue and contain these white supremacists? We can't confront them. Our president doesn't seem able to confront them. Mr. Fuller, I would like for you to respond to that.
But what's your question? That's a statement.
My question is simply, how do we go about bringing this issue to the forefront?
Which issue?
The issue of murder.
Mr. Fuller, go ahead.
Murder?
Yes.
I just gave an illustration of what I suggest. Worldwide, anyone who murders anybody, that is, you kill someone with the incorrect reason. You willfully and deliberately kill someone. That's what's called murder. I mean, and you did it unjustly. You didn't do it in self-defense. You did it, you just went and killed somebody because you thought that person ought to be dead, and you did it for a reason that was not just. It was an incorrect reason, and you willfully and deliberately did it. You should be put, I don't care where you are on the planet, this should be universal law so that everybody's on the same page. Everybody on the planet should be on the same page when it comes to killing. It should be real understood, okay? That person who does that murder, regardless of who that person is, should be put into solitary confinement with, preferably, the weapon that was used to do the killing, and that person kept there, fed at least once a day, an excellent meal, and let that person think about what he or she did until that person decides to kill him or herself and go wherever the persons that they kill went if they want to make an apology for what they did, because that's the way they're going to have to apologize. You can't apologize to the people who are still living. That doesn't make sense. you apologize to the people that you killed. And in order to do that, you go where they went. That's the concept, and that's the theory. And that should be the absolute law everywhere on the planet, in every village, in every city, and it should apply to everybody. Because people have gotten too much fun, underline, F-U-N, out of killing, including black people who are out here slaughtering each other every day. Well, that should be put on them. You kill somebody, when you get caught, you're looking at killing yourself.
Wow.
I'm not going to play with you.
Woo, my goodness.
I'm sluggish.
Well, what you call it then if it ain't sluggish?
I'm woke.
Oh, yeah, is you woke?
Yeah.
My goodness, Walter McCrimmon is in the house. He ain't sluggish this morning. He real woke. Am I right, Walt?
That's right. I'm on the ball today.
He's on the beam. Wait, I said wrong word, beam.
It's okay. It's all right.
Oh, my goodness. Let's open up the lines at 821-1063. 821-1063. Magic 106.3. You're on there. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, I was calling concerning only the free trade bill.
About the you talking about the Trans-Pacific
TPP.
Partnership?
That the President Obama passed through.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. What's your question?
Yeah. I think he pushed that through because I think he more or less benefit himself. Yes, I think he pushed that bill through.
How does he benefit himself? Okay, caller, when you call in, please turn down your radio because I can't make out what you're saying or the timing. Make sure you turn down your radio. I appreciate your call, but make sure you turn down your radio. Caller, you're on the air. Go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Go ahead, caller. Hello? Okay, you're off the air. Go ahead, Donnella. You're going to say something. Go ahead.
I wanted to respond to one of the callers who brought up, about Christianity being a lie. And anyone who's familiar with this show knows that we battle it out all the time and knows that I personally feel the same way. I feel that I think a black Christian should be an oxymoron. I don't even know why a black Christian would exist. I think, as Chris Rock said, if you're a black Christian, you have a very short memory. But in order to what
is an oxymoron? What does that mean?
It's like quiet riot.
I still don't know what that means.
It's like peaceful war.
Right.
Huh?
Two words that are opposite but are usually put together.
Oh, okay.
So,
all right.
In having these conversations, it's difficult a lot. And I think, one of the things I like about Mr. Neely Fuller is that he tends to have the same message over and over again, that repetition, in order to get us to see that there is a system of white supremacy, because a lot of black people, much less white people can't even see it. And so when we do have these conversations, yes, I do grit my teeth sometimes when I'm talking to a black person about Christian issues, because I feel that that's part of what they made you. Once again, part of that construction of our brains, which, we're programmed.
All right, let me go ahead, finish up.
But, we do need to have these conversations, and hopefully we can come to look outside of the programming and see our reality, which is pretty bleak.
All right. Magic 106.3. Let me hear from you. 821-1063. Let me hear from you now. 821-1063. 821-1063. We're here with Mr. Fuller. You had talked about that black marriage did not exist. We had kind of gotten into that as an offshoot of this gay marriage thing. What did you mean when you said black on black marriage did not exist? What do you mean, Mr. Fuller?
I mean that you can't have a marriage between prisoners of war. Prisoners of war are just that. That's all they are. And we are in a war, and we have already been captured by the white supremacists worldwide. Anybody who's classified as black is a captive of those white people who have chosen to be white supremacists. And we are now in captivity. We have never been outside of captivity. Every black person on this planet right now is a captive of the system of white supremacy, which means you are a prisoner of war. You have already been captured. They're not in the process of trying to round us up. We've already been rounded up. We were rounded up before we were born. We were born inside of a prison. That's the entire planet. If you're black, you're under the system of white supremacy regardless of where you are. So therefore, as a prisoner of war, you can't get married. You can go through a ceremony and you can pledge your devotion to a person, but actually that pledge cannot be substantiated because the white supremacists have to rubber stamp it, which means what? They're taking care of both of you, the person that you married and that person that married you. I mean, that's a ceremony. But the master of that ceremony are racist man and racist woman, the white supremacists collectively. Why? Because they determine your entire fate. Why? Because you are inside of their prison as a prisoner of war in economics, in education, in entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. They dominate what you are going to do inside of their prison, which is the whole universe. No matter where you go, you are under their domination, and they are hostile to you. So therefore, you don't have anything but an arrangement. You may have affection for each other, you may care for each other, but you can't even show how much you care for each other unless the white supremacists say that you can show it, because they're going to provide all the ways for you to show it.
No, I don't think, I mean, I respect you, and I know everybody around here going to say something, but that's not true.
What do you mean? What do you mean it's not true?
I can show you how much I love you. I'm not going to just sit up and say somebody else is the ruler over me and I can't do nothing. They control what I do, say, think. Because I have people that I have to teach, and that's part of being a marriage. You have a responsibility of raising children in the way that they should go. So I don't think I'm going to let anyone take that away from me. When I love my child, when I bring a child into this world, I need to give them what they need in order to be successful, in order to grow.
Mr. Fuller.
You are absolutely correct. You need to do these things, and you're not in position to do it. Because the white supremacists will tell you, if you're black and you're on this planet, what you can do, what you can't do, where you can go, when you can go, what you are going to do when you get where you're going, or if you can go at all.
But that's what I'm talking about.
The white supremacists tell me that.
That's just the law of the land.
I don't know of any black person that's breathing now who is not under that same condition.
But you're telling me the white supremacists can do what they want to do, whatever they want to do, but there's consequences. I could do there's good consequences and bad consequences. There's good choices and bad choices. Because I would do whatever I want to do, and if it's to help someone else or to inspire someone else, then that's what I'm gonna do. And hopefully they can feed on that and grow and become as wise as you and understand where their place is. But I'm not gonna just be stuck in a place because you told me I'm stuck in a place.
Okay, hold on. Magic 106.3. Caller, you on there with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
I don't think that...
Hold on, Mr. Fuller. Mr. Fuller, hold on. I have a caller.
The white supremacists are. We are in a prison dominated by a warden called the white supremacists. And I don't know of any prison where the prisoners do what they want to do, go where they want to go, plan what they want to plan and carry out that plan, and are successful in doing so without the warden's permission. I don't know of any prison. And I just got through saying, either we are under the system of white supremacy or we are not. Now, it could be that what the lady is saying is, we are not under the system of white supremacy, that she can do what she wants to do.
Absolutely.
Well, when it comes to what I have seen, the little time I've been on this planet, I haven't seen that. That's why I wrote a book about white supremacy. I don't think people know or understand what those words mean. Those are powerful words.
But you don't accept that.
It means supreme. It means you can think what you want to think, but you're going to do what the white supremacists allow you to do in the system of white supremacy, or you are going to be swiftly dead. Right now, we are talking about we want justice. Well, who are we talking to? Who are we talking to?
Just us.
When we say that I want a decent place to stay. I want a school. I want a playground. I want this and I want that. We all have plenty of wants, but when we get these wants satisfied, who do we turn to satisfy our wants? The white supremacists. That's who. Nobody else.
Caller, you're on the air with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead.
I just said it.
No, Mr. Fuller. I have a caller I believe I got a caller waiting. Caller, are you there?
Okay.
Caller.
Dr. Fuller?
Yes, you're on there. Go ahead.
I really just want to say I appreciate your lifelong work, and I'd like to know, as a black female, what should I be focusing on? And if you can make sure you give your information where I can purchase your book and any other information. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
I
caller.
couldn't hear that question at all.
Okay, she wants to know what should she be focusing on as a black female, and how can you get you can get his book at www.producejustice.com. That's www.producejustice.com. Mr. Fuller, go ahead.
And what was her question?
The question is, as a black female, what should she be doing right now?
What she should be doing right now is what all black people should be doing, and that is trying to figure out a way on a daily basis to do what she can to replace the system of white supremacy with the system of justice. Just like any prisoners of war, they don't want to be prisoners of war if they have natural inclinations. The inclinations that a person wants to be considered to be a human being. And so if you have been in a prison all of your life, your ambition is to get rid of that prison system, particularly if you're in prison on a bogus charge, on an incorrect charge, the charge of being black. That's an incorrect charge. Being black is not a crime, but the white supremacists have made being black a crime. So you have to get rid of the entire system, and you do this by what you do each and every day. Try to be in a counter-racist mode of thinking. In other words, do those things that you think will best produce justice, which means what? Make everything that you do constructive. Don't take parts in things that are not constructive. If you pass by that liquor store and a guy says, hey, baby, don't you want to talk to me? You should have a question, because all problems are solved by questions and answers. And what you do is say, talk to you about what, sir? In order to accomplish what, sir? Because whatever it is that he's going to propose has to be something constructive. Otherwise, you tell him politely, no, sir, I don't want to talk to you because what you want to talk to me about, from what you just told me, doesn't sound like it's going to have a constructive result. Now, when I come back by here, if you think of something that's constructive, then we'll talk. Have a nice day.
That's deep. All right, hold on, Mr. Fuller. We're going to try to get as many callers in here as we can. Magic 106.3. You're on there with Neely Fuller. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller.
Yes. I wanted to say real quick, Master Fuller always teaches that if you do not understand the system of racism, what it is and how it works, then everything that you know will confuse you, sister. And the brother said it, it's the law. I wanted to go back to what he was talking about when he says that we are in a prison. He is absolutely correct. This is why when you get a felony, you can't leave the country. They have to have a lower class of people here. They've chosen to make it us. We are ignorant to the laws, and we don't want to know. We think we got it together because we're working real good in a nice house. That's the illusion of inclusion.
If you have a felony, you can leave the country.
Magic 106.3, you're on there. Go ahead, caller.
I'm glad God made me black.
Okay, I appreciate that. All right. I don't know. Magic 106.3, you're on there. Go ahead, caller. Magic 106.3, you're on there. Go ahead, caller.
How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm waiting on you. Go ahead, my brother.
Okay, like my man, he Neely Fuller, man. Listen, us in Columbus, we're blessed to get this dude over the airwaves. He is simply just trying to tell you, when you're at home, think clearly. Think about the situations. They're real simple what's happening to us. White people are clowning us right now, man. They are ripping us a new one. And we're not figuring it out. And what he's basically saying, when you go outside the door, have something constructive to say that is against white supremacy. Black people, stop being scared. Stop being scared of white people. Go up and confront it. We will let white people clown our young people right in our face. We're cowards. We're cowards as a whole, collectively. Unless you start listening to what this man... It's almost like you're making him into a broken record. like that it's a good broken record. He keeps telling you the same thing and you're not listening. Go home, because you're not talking about nothing in Columbus. I'm around Columbus and nobody black. I run into 100 black people, then one black person talks about something, then another 100, then another one. It's too slow.
Is that bad? You tell me.
Too late.
You know something?
2020 is the deadline, and the black race will be. What we know as the black race will not exist no more.
Okay, I appreciate you. Appreciate you, brother. I think that's happening all over the country right now with black people. That's the problem. I don't think it's any. I think there might be some marginal differences, but from what I'm hearing all across the country, I'm hearing it's the same thing everywhere we go. All right. Okay. Magic 106.3, you're on the air. I don't know what's happening here. Hold on. Okay, go ahead, caller. You're on the air.
How you doing?
How you doing? Go ahead, quickly.
I just want to add, it's time for us to start looking at some black supremacy now, because the problem is if we continue to try to integrate into white supremacy, we see it isn't working. So what are the solutions, or what are the starts of black supremacy?
Define, bro, do me a favor. Define black supremacy. That's an interesting term.
Well, I would say that loving ourselves first, placing our dollars in each other's hands, and starting to build the empire we once had. Because I continue to hear what white supremacy is doing to us when there's nothing stronger than black supremacy. Because everything they do, they idolize us. They steal our ideas, they steal our governmental systems, and they create a world power. Our power is the most supreme. Once we recognize that and start doing for self, they're going to follow us again, and they'll be back under our coattail like it was before.
Okay,
supremacy should be the focus.
All right, let me have Mr. Fuller respond. Mr. Fuller, you heard the statement. Go ahead.
No, some people say that. What I advocate, I don't disagree with what he's saying, because I'm not eligible to do that. I'm not qualified to do that. But I'm saying what I have written is you replace the system of white supremacy with justice. Now, the process for doing that is for each and every individual black person to do something and say something constructive every time they make a move. That's the key. Just ask your question. Ask yourself the question, not somebody else. Am what I'm doing right now, the thing that I'm doing right this minute, is it constructive or is it non-constructive? I don't care how simple it is. And that's the solution. People are calling in, I guess, to try to get solutions. That's the solution for everybody, each individual. The book that I have written that you can get by going to producejustice.com is about just doing just that for the individual person. Because if you solve the problem of each individual person, you solve the problems of all persons. So from now on, you don't make contact with anybody unless you have a constructive reason for doing so. That alone will change the entire world overnight.